All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel with an honest review about an album that I ignored when it came out, and apparently my ignorance was correct. I'm going to talk about it in real time for a few real people just like you right there and like me here. All right, so I was at the thrift store the other day and I saw this and I'm like, do I buy it? It's 25 cents. Do I waste the 25 cents? I mean, I did today because I left my quarter in my cart when I was shopping at Aldi and I just gave it to someone. I'm like, here, you take it. No need to give me a quarter. Okay. So, do I value quarters? Yes, but maybe not as much as I should. So I purchased this album by Pearl Jam. All right. And I'm still a little fuzzy on the pronunciation of this word. Uh, I don't know. Vitalogy? Vitalogy? I don't know. I'm putting the accent on the wrong syllable, but I'm going to go with that. And maybe that's correct. Maybe it's not. That's how much I know about this, right? People are going to say, boy, are you stupid. I checked out when this stuff was all being released. I was listening to hillbilly music, or I was getting into Christian music a little bit during the 90s, later on in the 90s. And some of the Christian music I was listening to, I thought was alternative stuff. And then I put this on and I'm like, wow. So I find out that this album was one of the fastest selling albums of all time when it came out. Yeah. I mean, and, I gave it the actual listening test, put it in the Buick CD player, and let it roll, right? And I'm driving around Lee County here in Florida, and I'm getting depressed. I'm thinking, all right, hit me with some cool instrumentation. This is supposed to be a grunge band, right? Hit me with some guitars. And yeah, there are guitars and there are instruments lying on the floor everywhere. And they're picking them up and they're playing them and they're putting them back down. They're singing about bugs at one point, which was really bizarre. I don't know if it was poetry. I guess some people look at this as art, kind of like when you throw crap up against the wall and people say, hey, look, it's art over there. All you did was you took a pile of poop and you threw it on the wall and you called it art. I don't know if that's art. Yeah, it is to me. So I'm not comparing this to that, but compared to the music that I'm used to, this is kind of a similar thing. All right, in my humble opinion. Now, there are how many tracks on this? Like, I don't know, 14 or something like that. There's a lot of music on this album. I was kind of waiting for it to be over. All right. And, the track list, and they have an extended version now, I guess, with 17 songs. Last Exit, that's the first song. That wasn't impressive. Spin the Black Circle, that wasn't impressive. Not For You, nope, didn't like it. Track 4 called Tremor Christ. That's the name of the song. That was actually okay as a song. I didn't really spend a lot of time looking into these lyrics, but there have been quite a few reviews about the lyrics that these guys needed to lighten up at that moment, that it was getting a little too dark and a little too hard to understand, and people felt depressed after listening to it. And I've been saying this stuff for years, that who wants to feel depressed when they go and listen to music? The only track on here that I vaguely remember is a tune called Better Man, which I believe takes a while to get to. Before, you would have given up on the album prior to Better Man. And I'm not saying Better Man is like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's better than the other tracks. And I believe it was on the radio. I remember hearing it. And it's just weird because everybody else was just like, yeah, man, I got to get this new Pearl Jam album. This was their third album. By then, the bloom had already started to come off the grungy rose, and I wasn't really following it, so I didn't understand. These guys were kind of switching to more of a punk rock sound, more of a folky alternative sound, and it's just a mess. It's all over the place. But you look back at the reviews, 4 out of 5 stars, 5 out of 5 stars. An amazing achievement. The band has found their voice. Blah, blah. I'm like, wow. And I get the reaction to all of this slick and I would say sophisticated. I don't know if it's sophisticated, but the singable, listenable, um, decent songwriting of the prior decade. Some would call it cheesy. This is how everything gets destroyed now. Well, that's really cheesy what you're listening to, Dave. Here. Well, what's this? If I listen to cheese, what food group is this? I've got some ideas, right? Eggs. Eggs go with cheese, right? Sort of. It's kind of in the dairy department, same aisle. I'm not talking about, delicious hard-boiled eggs here. I'm talking about eggs that hit the sidewalk, all right? Some will say I'm being unfair and I haven't spent enough time with this. I didn't want to spend any more time with it. I spent the 25 cents. I thought to myself, you know what? I'll listen to it. I'll give it a fair shake. I wanted to like one of the songs. Better Man is okay. Some will say, well, that's a masterpiece. You're just backward in your thinking. And, I guess I do need to be deprogrammed if I want to listen to this kind of music and be all excited about it. Now, I will say this, though. I have a higher opinion of bands like Stone Temple Pilots and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden because they actually recorded songs I could listen to. Seriously. And this is mostly unlistenable for me. It might not be for you. You may want to hear Bugs 20 times in a row. You may like the song Satan's Bed. You may like Corduroy or Whipping or Nothing Man. These are all just, aren't they really cool song titles? Yeah, you're just not into the depth of this and the poetry and the imagery, and you need to dig deeper into the mind of Eddie Vedder to understand this stuff. You know what this reminds me of? Somebody has a garage, right? And there are all these musical instruments all over the place, and kids come in there and they start picking things up and they start playing, and somebody rolls the tape, right? Maybe a kid can play guitar a little bit and they record him. Maybe there's another kid who bangs on some piano keys, another kid who makes some sounds like a bird or something, and they record all of it. And maybe there's a song in there somehow. Maybe one of the kids starts spouting random lines from the back of a cereal box that just sitting in the, it's kind of like an Andy Warhol thing. Like, it's just, look, it's a can of soup. Wow, that's artistic. I never understood that. It's a Campbell's soup can. Why is that amazing artwork? So, I don't know, folks. Maybe I just don't understand and I need to try to understand. I would say, based on what I know about Pearl Jam, that first album was probably a masterpiece compared to what I hear on this. And I'm not a big fan of the first album, but I understand why people like the first album. By the time we get to the third album, maybe they just didn't have any ideas. Maybe they knew this trend, this musical style wasn't going to continue for that long. But imagine that being one of the biggest selling or fastest selling albums of all time. Multi-platinum. This is when we were still in the era of records selling, which I think is extraordinary. These guys were able to sell that many albums, and good for them. I mean, what was the budget on this? I'm sure they had lots of money to work with because um, they had brought in a lot of money for the record label. And so the sky's the limits, right? You could hire a bunch of people and you could put something out. Even if you put crap out, you could have producers who go in there and make some changes and make the crap acceptable. But I don't know. Was it Brendan O'Brien or somebody like that who produced this? I can't remember the guy's name. Brendan O'Shanahan. Let me see if I can look that up for you, if I can even find it. Brendan O'Brien. See, I was close. All right. Mixing engineer. By the way, I think Brendan O'Brien produced the Black Ice album by AC/DC, which I liked a lot. But then again, you've got a band that knows how to write hooks, and it's a completely different style of music. And anyway, folks, I wouldn't recommend this album. I wouldn't wouldn't recommend it. But there are people who say to me all the time, dude, you need to get with the program. The 90s were amazing. No, the 90s were the beginning of where we are now. It was the beginning. Now I know you've got Napster and all the music file sharing, and then now you've got no royalties on Spotify and different places, and people don't want to create good music in the way they used to because they're not going to make the money, and record labels aren't willing to hang on for years like they used to in the old days. Look at the band Kansas or REO Speedwagon. They had to hang on for years before either of those guys had big selling albums. But with Pearl Jam, it was right out of the gate, and they were saying, screw the melodic stuff. We're going to go with this now. We're going to tear down those posters we had of, Danger, Danger, and then paste over the Pearl Jam, which literally happened at CBS Records at the time. Literally, we're just tearing this stuff down, and we're going to put up this new stuff. The kids are going to love this. The style is easy to emulate. Some ripped jeans and a flannel shirt. Anyone can do it. And yeah, I will say I like the style better than, spandex. Absolutely, 100%. But the music, nah, not so much. And not to mention that there was a genuine blues rock thing going on when grunge hit. Guys like Robert Cray and Gary Moore, and Johnny Winter, and even John Lee Hooker had an album, like a comeback album out, I remember. And obviously Eric Clapton in the mix there, but many other people who were kind of upstarts. Jeff Healey was another great artist. And all that stuff was just like, nope, we don't want that stuff either. Even though that wasn't tacky or cheesy, that was good old school rock and roll with, an emphasis more on the blues. This is not blues. It's depressing. All right. So that's just my 2 cents. And honorable mention to the song Better Man, which, again, I wouldn't call that, a melodic gem or anything like that. But I remember it being on the radio, and it does bring back some nostalgic feelings of the 90s, but not anything I listened to for a very long time. So anyway, that's my review of this Pearl Jam album number 3. Not even sure. Vitalogy, is that how you say it? And if it's not, then I'm an idiot, and I already know that. So you can tell me that later. I don't really think it matters how you pronounce it. It's really how you listen to it. And I'm probably going to give this back to the thrift store. Just saying. Unless somebody wants it, I'll send it to you. All right? You'll have to pay the postage, but I will send it to you.